Senator Al Franken had a lot of concerns about Betsy DeVos, her past political activity, her qualifications for the position to become the Secretary of Education, and in asking about those various concerns of his, he revealed how wholly unprepared she is for the position. You could almost say that the nomination hearing was more than she could bear, if you're following her. We'll get to it in the second hour. Anyway, here's the first clip of Al Franken asking about one of the fundamental sort of debates going on behind the scenes in education.
I would like your views on the relative advantage of doing assessments and using them to measure proficiency or to measure growth.
Well, thank you, Senator, for that question. I think if I'm understanding your question correctly around proficiency, I would also correlate it to competency and mastery, so that each student is measured according to the advancement that they're making in each subject area.
Well, that's growth. That's not proficiency. So in other words, the growth they're making is in growth. The proficiency is an arbitrary standard.
If they've reached a level, the proficiency is if they've reached a third grade level for reading, etc.
No, I'm talking about the debate between proficiency and growth.
Yes.
And what your thoughts are on them.
Well, I was just asking to clarify then.
Well, this is a subject that has been debated in the education community for years. So I've been an advocate of growth. But it surprises me that you don't know this issue.
Does it really surprise? Yeah, that was a great final. If your question was something else.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
wow.
I have to confess that probably like a lot of you guys out there, I did not know the raging debate between growth and proficiency.
I didn't either.
In education.
Which is one of, I think, the main reasons that I'm not the Secretary of Education right now. So I was not familiar with that.
Well, if you'd just given $200 million to the Republicans, you too could have been Secretary of Education without any qualifications.
I considered it. I considered it.
So as Al Franken points out, I found out because of these hearings that actually is one of the biggest debates in education, in the education community. So the proficiency is, hey, let's all make sure that everybody can move on to the next grade level and they get a certain level of reading and writing, et cetera. And so that has downsides, which means you can't focus on the guys who can grow more and who have a lot more, room for achievement. You also can't focus on the people at the bottom who are nowhere near the proficiency. So and so it really kind of brings you to a median point or a mean. Whereas the growth folks say, hey, let's not just drill in on standardized testing that just tests proficiency so that we could all get good marks and according to the national testing and move on and get our paychecks, et cetera. Let's focus on the growth of each individual student. Now, I'm clear on where I stand on that too. I think a lot of people are very disgruntled with the proficiency attitude that our government has taken under a lot of administrations, Republican and Democratic, right? Come on. You see, if you're going to go into hearings for a position you're unqualified for, and it's about education, the very least you can do is educate yourself.
Yeah.
So if I was going to go into those hearings, do you know how much I would have studied, how many all-nighters I would have pulled?
Would have made your head spin.
Right, to catch me up on all of the issues surrounding education, where the two camps are, what do the Republicans think, what do the liberals think, why I'm going to give the certain answers to the senators because they're clearly going to ask about this issue. Yeah. Not only does she not know it, she didn't bother studying.
Yeah, she's like Trump. And honestly, look, she's never taught, and she's not qualified to lead the Department of Education, but she's also no less or more qualified than Ben Carson is to lead a Department of Housing, or Rex Tillerson to lead a diplomatic department with no experience in international diplomacy. It's just this idea of, oh, if you were a business person, and if you agree with me, even though Betsy DeVos once said about a year and a half ago that Trump doesn't represent the best of the Republican Party and he's an interloper. She's apparently been nice to him since then. That's all it takes to qualify in Trump's eyes.
Well, look, I don't even have as tough a standard as John does or other progressives do. I don't mind if you didn't have experience in government to some degree, right? So I don't need everybody who's a cabinet member to be a government expert. No.
I'm not saying government. I'm saying the field, housing, diplomacy,
or even the field.
Education.
No, or even the field. So I'm more lenient than you guys are. So let's say you're a very successful dean of a school or a business person, and you bring him into housing and urban development. But I do need two things. One is honesty. So Betsy DeVos, don't dance around like you're going to help Bernie Sanders with free college education. Just come out and say it, right?
Yeah.
Say, hey, look, I think public education has tremendous problems. And so I want to move more money into charter schools. I want to move more money into religious schools. That has been your position all along. You have said in the past the government, quote, sucks, and that public schools are, quote, a dead end. If you, my God, you're going to be in charge of the public schools. You're thinking, but then come out and say it. Say, look, Donald Trump won the election. He put me in here because we think public schools suck or government sucks and the public schools are dead ends, losers, right? So we're going to change it. Be honest. Be honest. You know what? At least you'd have your base on your side, and some independents might respect you. The second thing is, for God's sake, if you're going to lead a department you have no experience in, study. By the time you get to the hearings, show us some aptitude. Show us that you care enough to learn.
Yeah.
But if you come in with the brazen attitude of Ben Carson and now Betsy DeVos, like,
Or Donald Trump.
yeah, and go, I don't know anything about this, and I'm not gonna know anything about it. Well, then yes, that is not good enough. We already hired one investigative reporting team thanks to you guys. Let's hire the second right now. Go to tytnetwork.com/go.